What do you believe is the root cause for the conflicts between many mothers and their adult daughters, not younger daughters, adult daughters? Because I've been observing this thing, and that relationship seems pretty tricky. A
Yeah.
lot of times, they bash men,
Yeah.
but for many, unfortunately, the men are gone, so they don't really have much of an interaction
Yeah.
with them. But the interaction is with the mother,
Yeah.
and they have some very rough relationships.
For myself, I'm going to say because I had my stuff with my mom, and then I also, like me and my daughter, we had our own stuff, right? And so, from my experience, I am going to say that it's because a lot of mothers, a lot of parents in general, don't feel like they need to apologize to their children. We weren't given the blueprints. We weren't given a book. We literally had to, do the best that we could with our kids, right? And so for myself, I as I grew and as I got to know more about myself and as I reflected on how I treated each individual kid, I saw things in ways in that I had treated my daughter I wasn't proud of. And so what I had to do was I had to come to her as adults now, and I had to apologize, and I had to really, we were always close. We were always close, but there were still things that I did and I said that I shouldn't have. And so I had to humble myself, and I had to really have empathy and be realistic about it. And we're so much more closer now. We're so much better now. We've always been close, like I said, but it's just so imperative for mothers to see, like, you know what, like I didn't have all the tools. I didn't grow up in the way in which I was nurtured properly. So, a lot of us have to teach ourselves how to be mothers, and a lot of people don't understand that portion of it. Just because you saw something, just because you heard something, just because you were treated in certain manners when you were growing up doesn't mean that you still have to do that with your own children. So basically, I had to break generational curses because I was treated bad. My mother was treated bad. It was a cycle.
At what point did you realize, because as a parent, you realize the same thing if you're in tune, right?
Right.
But when did you realize, like, man, I can't, because the default is, I think that's the growth. The default is the behavior of what you see.
Yes.
And I think the game changer is behaving differently than what your default
Yes,
is. Yeah.
absolutely. And it did take me some time to realize that. And it also took me humbling myself because a lot of times what happens is no matter what, people don't like to apologize. And when I was going through that process that I just told you about like 10, 15 years ago, that was one of the things, whether it was a friend, whether it was a family member, that was one of the things I became accustomed to and that I appreciated about myself was that if I got it wrong, I'm coming to you and I'm apologizing to your face.
So it sounds like accountability.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right, so-
Accountability for
all right.
yourself.
So, based on what you said, it seems like the issue parents run into is that accountability.
Yeah.
We always criticize it in relationships,
Yeah.
husband and wife, but we don't talk about it in regards to parenting child.
right.
So could that be like the source of a lot of the conflict that a parent doesn't want to acknowledge that, like, hey, I messed up.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. There's a lot of pride and ego, and a lot of people don't see or feel like they do anything that's wrong. A lot of people aren't even in touch with reality. So what happens is they play the blame game. But listen to this one. Wherever they go, my grandma would say, wherever you go, there you are. So they can sit up there and they can keep on pointing the finger at their spouse, at their children, at their coworkers. But at the end of the day, there they are, still wallowing in their pride and their ego and not wanting to take accountability, not wanting to apologize, and not looking inward to dig out their crap. So then nobody wants to end up being around them. And everybody's like, you don't even see the way you act. And it's really sad because so many things, so many relationships and connections can be fixed by having a simple conversation, communication.
Do you think, I know a lot of people talk about like people mellow out when they get older. I'm not sure if that's true for everyone because you have to like work on yourself. And I don't think a lot of people have the tools to work on themselves. What's your thoughts about that?
I believe that what happens is a lot of people don't want to ask for help. And, like for myself, like I was able to pull myself out of the pit multiple times, but there were times where I had to go to therapy, I had to go to counseling, I had to call one of my friends and say, hey, like this is what I'm going through. And so I feel like a lot of times people have that shame and that guilt and they don't want to let anybody know what they're experiencing internally. So therefore on the outward and what they do and what they say is always going to come out regardless. So it's better to just, if you can't work on it yourself, then pull somebody else in so that way you can dig your stuff out because you don't want to keep on spewing, and blaming people. It's like, and you're unhappy. You're unhappy. And people claim to be happy on the outside and on social media and at their job and with their relationship, but internally they're miserable and they're struggling with themselves.
And with the mother-daughter relationship, right? Mm-hmm. Does jealousy play a role sometimes with the interactions?
I believe it does. Yeah. I believe it does. And even to the fact that where you were talking about aging, I feel like some mothers want to live life through their daughter's eyes because they feel like they were robbed of it. Either they had the kids late, or either the relationship didn't work out with the father. So there is a such thing, I believe, as parents being jealous of their children. Absolutely.